Ever wonder what it would be like? A world without baseball? A world without America's pastime, that being the game of baseball. I know all about baseball. I've been around it my whole entire life, and I have been dedicating my life to it for years now. What I want to talk to you today about is key points throughout our history that will be touched on, with how it was first started, how it has evolved over time, and how baseball is now compared to when it first began. So let's get started and talk about how it all started. First of all, it is said that a man by the name of Abner Doubleday is the founder of baseball, but still we do not know the exact person who actually invented the game of baseball. Back when it first began, baseball was split up into its original 8 teams. Those 8 teams included the Boston Red Stockings, the Chicago White Stockings, the Cincinnati Red Stockings, the Hartford Dark Blues, Louisville Gray, Mutual of New York, the Philadelphia Athletics, and the St. Louis Brown Stockings. Now, of those original 8 teams that started out the entire MLB, so to speak, only 2 remain today, being the Chicago White Stockings becoming the Chicago Cubs and the Boston Red Stockings becoming the Atlanta Braves. Now let's talk for a minute about how this game has evolved over time. Equipment is obviously a huge part in baseball, and you really can't play the game without it. Guys back in the day would go up to the batter's box, getting ready to hit, risking their life basically without even using a helmet for protection. Now, fielders would field without gloves. The only person that would have a glove on the field would be the catcher. And that's pretty talented, if you ask me, being out there, being able to field and catch line shots without a baseball glove. And the next thing that I want to talk about that has changed over time is the actual baseball itself. Now, this is actually a baseball of what it is like now, with the small laces and a tight, harder inner core, as opposed to when it first started, it being a little bit larger than this right here, and the laces were also a lot thicker and would raise above the baseball a little bit more. And actually, probably the biggest change that has happened in the game of baseball over time is the amount of money players are paid now compared to, say, 50 years ago. Players 50 years ago, such as guys by the name of Mickey Mantle, would be paid a yearly salary by their team about $70,000. Now we got guys upwards of 7 figures, and guys signing 5-year deals worth $20 million. One of the guys in the MLB today that is said to be the first guy to ever sign a $9 contract is a guy by the name of Bryce Harper, who plays outfield for the Washington Nationals. His contract is up within 2 years, and he will most likely be the highest paid baseball player in the history of its game. And if that's not saying something about how the payroll and how this game has evolved, then I don't know what does. Now, lastly, what I want to touch on is how baseball is compared today and how it was when it first started. The way that the MLB is organized today is there are your 30 MLB teams that are separated into 2 different leagues, National League and American League. Now, in between those 2 leagues, they are both separated into 3 divisions amongst themselves, being the East, Central, and West in both respected leagues. And also the length of a Major League Baseball season nowadays is 162 games, as opposed to probably around a 100-game season back in the 1950s. Lastly, what I want to touch on is the biggest thing that I believe has changed over time in the game of baseball is the talent. You got guys first starting, guys like Babe Ruth, who would smack home runs left and right, and that's all he did. He did it, and he is said to be one of the greatest hitters of all time. Now we got guys like Miguel Cabrera on the Detroit Tigers, who could possibly, arguably, be the best hitter of all time, being the way he hits for average, hits for power, hits for on-base percentage, things like that, makes him into that category of possibly being the best hitter of all time. Then you go to the pitching aspect of things when you got guys back in the day not throwing as hard as guys that throw hard today. Guys today in the MLB there's over a handful of guys that throw over three digits that throw the ball harder than 100 miles an hour, and that is absolutely unheard of in the game of baseball back in the day. Which that brings me to my closing point is that baseball is a major point in my life and has been ever since I can remember. I live and breathe baseball every day of my life, and it has been a major impact to me. To me, baseball isn't just some game, it truly is America's pastime.